I speak to you now as one who has watched the turning of seasons and kept the keys to the hidden scrolls. I am here because this is no accident. You are not seeing this by chance. I am unsealing a page of your prophetic scroll in perfect Kairos timing. The appointed hour on heaven's clock has arrived for you, written and threaded into your bones before your first breath. You stand at the very edge of a destined moment, a sealed prophecy beginning to open, and it may unfold today, tonight, or within the coming hours and days. Hear me, this is a sacred unlocking. I declare it with urgency and tenderness. The vision waits for its appointed time, as Habakkuk 2 verse 3 tells us. There is a season for every matter, as Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 reminds the heart. This is your season. I call you, anointed one, into reverent expectancy. Feel heaven's timing settle around you like a mantle. Whatever pressure you felt was preparation, protection, pruning, aligning you for this very hour. My child, receive this now as invitation and proclamation. Expect transformation in body, spirit, and circumstance. I am opening the door. Walk through with faith. The unsealing begins. Chosen one, hear me now. I speak to you with an urgency that trembles like a bell at dawn, for the seals on your scroll are shifting. Not with loud thunder, but with the quiet certainty of something long ordained beginning to move. The heavens are not passive, they are aligning. I say this as one who has stood in nights of wondering and daylight of small mercies, as one who has felt the slow grinding of seasons before a sudden spring. I know what it is to carry a promise in the bones, and to wait while everything around you seemed to conspire to keep it hidden. My beloved, every delay you felt was not rejection. It was preparation, protection, pruning, aligning you to receive what you cannot carry yet until you have been formed. Listen, this is a moment where preparation becomes activation. The Kairos hour written before you drew breath now calls you up. The sealed prophecy that lay folded in your spirit is receiving heaven's touch. I declare to you, anointed one, that interventions are occurring beyond what your eyes have witnessed. Doors that were locked are softening. Keys that were missing are appearing in the quiet places of your life, in a conversation you almost ignored, in an idea you nearly dismissed, in a meeting that felt accidental. Nothing here is accidental. Your prophetic scroll is being unrolled line by line, and the handwriting on it is familiar to your soul. I have walked this path. There were times when I thought the scroll had been lost forever, when a dream was delayed, when a body grew weary, when prayers felt like echoes with no answer. In those seasons, I learned the meaning of a refining delay. God's timing is not haste, it is exactness. The pressure you felt in those nights, it was a cupping hand shaping what you would eventually hold. The trimming, the closing of doors, the night vigils, they were all preparing the room in you for a glory you could not yet contain. Remember, this protection often looks like a postponement. Pruning often feels like pain. Alignment often shows as confusion. But all are the craftsmanship of a loving hand. Now, anointed one, pay attention to the signs. The tiny confirmations, the synchronicities, the sudden clarity in a once cloudy decision, these are not small. They are the seams unzipping on your destiny. I urge you to make room. Remove the things that take up sacred shelf space in your heart. Fear, comparison, old shame, unrepentant bitterness. These are weights. They dim the light on the scroll. Lay them down and watch how what was tightly folded begins to unfurl. The unfolding is not merely for you, it is a signal. When you begin to live in the timing set for you, you create a frequency that awakens others. Your activation is contagious in heaven's economy. You may wonder why now, why this precise hour? Because the appointed time on heaven's clock has its own rhythm. Like the farmer who waits for the exact rain, the heavens have measured out the season. As Habakkuk 2 verse 3 reminds the patient watcher, the vision waits for its appointed time. It hastens to the end and will not lie. Trust that language not as a distant proverb, but as breath in your own chest. The waiting has been purposeful. The turning has begun. I am not giving you a poetic promise only. I speak practical things. Guard your thoughts, tend your body, steward your speech. Activation arrives most fully when the vessel is ready. Practically, that means rest when your spirit calls for rest. That means presence when life demands presence. That means choosing truth over rumor. Practice small obediences. They are the hinges that open larger doors. I learned this in my own life: a single morning of quiet, a single refusal to speak fear, a single act of generosity in a season of scarcity. Each was an open gate to a greater unfolding. Feel the urgency, but not the panic. This is sacred pressure, not frantic force. Heaven's movement respects the dignity of the human heart. It calls for faith, not frenzy. Therefore, I ask you now, chosen one, to place your hand over your heart and breathe slowly with me. Inhale with the awareness that something within you is being lit. Exhale the residue of doubt. Repeat this whenever you need to recalibrate through the hours ahead. It will anchor you to the season. Know this also: you will be required to surrender in ways you would not have expected. Surrender is not loss, it is recalibration. It is the letting go of lesser things so that greater assignments may rest upon your life. When the scroll opens fully, it will demand integrity, courage, and a strange gentleness that refuses to hustle the grace it has been given. The world will ask you for spectacle. Heaven will ask you for faithfulness. Choose the latter and watch how doors open that no amount of striving could prise apart. Before I pause, receive this as a prophetic seal. A hinge is turning in the unseen. A letter of promise has been unsealed and is breathing upon your spirit. Expect confirmations in the next hours and days, small, undeniable, sweetly persistent. Call them like you would call a friend to a meal, welcome them in, and treat them as precious. This is the beginning of a new chapter written in your bloodline, a turning that will ripple into those who come after you. Rest in that promise for a moment. Hold it, cherish it. Keep your heart soft, my child, and your feet steady. The unsealing has begun. Chosen one, lean in. There are details in this hour you must receive as nourishment, not noise. I want to speak plainly about the mechanics of the unsealing you are living through. Heaven never moves without pattern. It does not rush, it aligns. What you are witnessing are precise calibrations, alignments of relationship, of timing, of opportunity, and of holiness. Some things will come as sudden open doors. Others will arrive as a gentle rearrangement of your inner room so the light can enter without breaking anything fragile inside you. If you have felt pressure, know this immediately. The pressure was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Every tight season was shaping you to contain what you are now called to carry. There are 3 practical rhythms I have learned in seasons like this, and I hand them to you now because they will anchor you in the days ahead. First, listen more than you speak. In my own life, I learned to quiet my mouth when a new word wanted to form in me. The first time I obeyed that quiet, a simple answer arrived the next morning in a way no argument could have produced. The second, steward your physical vessel. Rest is not optional, it is sacred strategy. When I honored rest after long nights of seeking, doors opened wider and faster than when I tried to outrun the waiting. Third practice, immediate obedience to small promptings. A single yes in a small thing often unlocks a yes in a larger thing. I cannot overstate how often a tiny surrender became the hinge of a new season. Anointed one, The unsealing works like this. Heaven speaks in confirmations, and then it tests the confirmation with faith. Expect confirmations, texts, chance encounters, an image in your mind that returns again and again, and then expect a simple obedience to be asked. The test is not to prove you, it is to prepare you for stewardship. The world will offer confirmations that feel spiritual, but actually inflate the ego. Heaven's confirmations will humble you, asking you to carry weight without fanfare. When you see favor arrive unadvertised, respond with gratitude and responsibility. I also want to dismantle a lie that has kept many gifted souls small, that a delay equals disqualification. I have stood at the doorway of what I believed was my final failure. In that night I cried, I fasted, and I felt abandoned. But what I have come to know intimately is this delay is rarely rejection, it is recalibration. I use the word intentionally, recalibration. Your delay has been a necessary geometric adjustment so that when your destiny arrives, it fits the world like a key into its lock. The pruning you endured was not punishment, it was protective. The doors that closed around you were mercy cloaked as loss, preventing you from rushing into a mission before your heart and structure could sustain it. You must also be alert to the language you carry in your inner house. Words form a currency with heaven. When I began to change the sentences I spoke over my life, less complaint, more declaration, the atmosphere shifted. Complaints anchor you to past wounds. Declarations tether you to prophetic possibility. So speak this with me silently now when you can. I am ductile to the hand of heaven. I will not rush the crafting. I will not trade my portion for speed. That sentence is not a prayer, it is a posture. Practical safeguards protect your inner circle. The circle that walked with me through my awakening was small and tested. Not everyone who applauds you in public will hold your confidence in private. A sealed scroll requires trusted hands. Trim associations that demand performance rather than invite partnership. Invest in those who kneel with you in the night and rise with you in the morning without transaction. Expect resistance, but know its nature. Resistance will come as doubt from within, critique from without, and sometimes as sudden convenience that distracts you from continuity. When resistance presses, remember again, the pressure is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Say that aloud when the world trains you to panic. I have used that sentence as a balm. It steadied me during betrayals that could have hollowed out my calling if I had not named their purpose. Let me give you a map for the next immediate hours. Watch for 3 gates. First, a gate of clarity. An insight will arrive that slices through fog. Act on it. Second, a gate of relationship. Someone will show up with a needed resource or piece of wisdom. Receive them without suspicion. Third, a gate of surrender. An area of control will be taken from your hands so that God may put something larger into them. Each gate will present itself quietly. Each will feel both ordinary and holy. Beloved, do not be surprised if miracles look small at first. Heaven often begins in thin places, an unexpected phone call, a small financial favor, a healed word. These are the seedings. I have watched how a single answered question once redirected a ministry that now reaches thousands. Small beginnings are often the most faithful proofs of a Father's favor. Celebrate them. Finally, I speak to the fears that may whisper, will I lose myself in this calling? Will success demand my integrity? Your mantle will require humility, and humility keeps the heart safe. Guard your motives relentlessly. Glory without surrender becomes vanity. Service without joy becomes labor. Choose joy and surrender together. In my own journey, when I protected my joy and surrendered my agenda, the map of my life rearranged in ways I could not have engineered. Chosen one, rest in that and let it lodge deep within your bones. You are being prepared, not punished. You are being protected, not abandoned. You are being pruned, not discarded. You are being aligned, not forgotten. Breathe, center, receive. My hand is on the scroll with you, and the unsealing continues. Chosen one. I will speak plainly about how to carry what is being given to you, how to guard the flame, steward the gift, and walk with dignity through the changes that will follow. Hear me, this season will require rhythm more than rush. I have learned that heaven's gifts are not meant to be grabbed in panic, but received in posture. When favor arrives, it will come with an atmosphere, an invitation to maturity. Do not mistake acceleration for permission to abandon the practices that formed you. The disciplines that taught you patience will now teach you stewardship. The prayers that sustained your waiting will now shape your response to abundance. You must protect your inner life. The world will present 1,000 reasonable arguments to expose it, offers that demand visibility, critics who try to unsettle you, and friendships that ask you to perform instead of to be known. When exposure feels like danger, remember, exposure is refinement. The sudden unveiling of old wounds is not punishment. It is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Let that truth settle. What is being uncovered is being cleared, so the light can shine without compromise. Practical guardrails I give you from my own road. Keep a morning chamber, keep a night journal, keep a small council. The morning chamber is not a ritual for show, but a shelter for your first fruits, 10 minutes where you breathe with heaven before the noise of the world steals your posture. The night journal is a ledger of confirmations and prayers answered. I still return to mine when doubt whispers. The small council is 3 or 4 trusted people who know your heart, not your highlights. These 3 practices saved me from 2 costly mistakes, running on adrenaline and listening to voices that wanted me to buy into their anxiety. Expect relational reconfigurations. People who once celebrated you will not always celebrate your maturation. When friendships thin or directions diverge, name it for what it is, a realignment. Realignment is not rejection, it is divine choreography. The friends who remain are not a larger crowd, but a more dependable company. When doors close among acquaintances, do not mistake the sorrow for failure. Closure often precedes covenant. I have watched relationships that broke under pressure return, later rebuilt stronger and aligned with purpose. The pruning you feel when connections shift is the hand of protection, keeping your mandate intact. Finance and provision will test your imagination. Heaven sometimes responds to scarcity with creativity before it responds with abundance. You may find resources appearing in unexpected forms, a conversation that births a collaboration, a skill you have ignored that suddenly pays a small gift that multiplies. These are not random, they are training. When you face lack, do not panic. The lack is not punishment, it is a refining alignment that cultivates trust and ingenuity in the steward. I once received a small, improbable check that covered a momentary gap. It felt like a miracle because it was exactly what the hour needed. Keep your hands open and your plans flexible. There will also be seasons when your body asks you for mercy. When fatigue knocks, it is not the enemy conspiring against your calling. It is a sentinel signaling you to reset. Fatigue is often protection. Honor it. Learn to rest without guilt. When I ignored the body's whispers, I discovered that speed cost me clarity. When I learned to rest as a form of strategy, my decisions sharpened. Rest is an act of cultivation. It readies the vessel to carry the flame without burning it up. You will be required to speak new words. Language is a currency with heaven. I have watched how a single rephrasing of a heart confession altered a trajectory. Change your grammar, move from if to when, from maybe to this is coming. Speak with the humility of one who knows the mystery, but with the authority of one who stakes their life on it. Declarations are not arrogance when they are tethered to obedience. Say plainly, chosen one, I will steward this well. I will keep my heart humble. I will not take glory that is not given. There is a fierce necessity to learn discernment. Not every open door is a door you should enter. When opportunity approaches, wearing haste or pressure, stop and ask two questions. Does this preserve my integrity? Does this serve my assignment? If the answer leans toward compromise, decline. Discernment is a muscle built by quiet and failure both. I learned it in the hard school of near misses. False starts that wasted time taught me more than any success. Celebrate the lessons of those near misses. They were the hand that saved you from a worse compromise. I also warn you of the seduction of visibility. The world will want to elevate you quickly to make your story a product. Visibility without stewardship becomes brittle. When the crowd applauds, look back to your small council, your morning chamber, your ledger of confirmations. Let external applause be a signpost, not the destination. I have been tempted to believe that a large platform equates to blessing. Platform is a tool, stewardship is the test. Carry both with humility. Expect a refining of motives. Your gift will be tested to see whether it is for personal gain or public good. The better thing to keep in mind is that your assignment is larger than your comfort. When a choice shows you an easier route towards self-promotion, refuse it. The easier route often costs you the legacy. Legacy is paid in the coin of obedience, not comfort. In my own life, the decision to walk away from obvious applause in favor of quieter service birthed a fruit that outlived the applause. Finally, receive this as a benediction. You are not being asked to do this alone. There is a company seen and unseen that moves with you. Angels of timing, converging people, and small confirmations will all bear witness. Trust them. Look for the hand that has always been guiding you and align your steps to it. The scroll being opened for you carries lineage. It is not merely personal, it is generational. As you keep your heart steady, your family line will begin to feel the blessing in ways you could not engineer. Chosen one, anchor in the posture of stewardship. You were prepared for this hour. The pruning, the pressure, the weight, all of it formed you to steward what is now arriving. Keep your hands gentle, your speech measured, and your heart surrendered. My beloved, I walk with you. I have carried these weights and found them to be sacred tools. Receive with humility and act with courage. Chosen one. Come closer with your attention, for there are sacred practicalities that will determine whether the unsealing becomes your song or a missed sound. I have watched many awakenings sputter at the threshold because the one receiving the word did not yet have a structure to house what heaven was bringing. Structure is not legalism, it is a shelter. In my own life, the difference between a whisper that passed and a voice that became a corridor was the simple establishment of daily practices that protected the flame. I will give you those practices now, not as a checklist to earn favor, but as rhythms that honor what is being birthed in you. First, keep a sacred hour, not for performance, but for reception. In that hour, you are not negotiating with heaven, you are listening. I used to bargain with the noise of life until I learned to sit in silence and let a single sentence from the Spirit rewrite my day. Make this hour non-negotiable. Put down your phone, close the door, breathe until the body yields enough to hear. The unsealing often speaks in low tones. Loud living drowns it out. Second, tithe your time to rest. The world will applaud your productivity, but heaven will bless your rest. I learned this the hard way. Burnout disguised itself as momentum until it shattered a season I could have stewarded for a decade. Rest is not an indulgence, it is a strategic reserve. When the scroll opens, you will need reserve energy to steward surprises without becoming brittle. Protect that reserve. Third practice, quick repentance. When small compromises appear, correct them immediately. The faster you return to humility, the less damage the unsealing does to fragile places in your soul. I watched generosity grow in my life when I stopped excusing minor sins as small and instead dealt with them quickly. The unsealed life is tender. It bruises easily when unresolved habits are left unattended. Fourth, cultivate a listening counsel. Not many, a few tested companions who will speak truth to you without flattery. I carried a trio of faithful ones who did not need to explain me to anyone. They simply corrected me when I wandered and cheered when I ran true. When controversy or praise rushes in, bring it to them. Let them anchor you back to the reality of the scroll's instructions. Fifth, keep a ledger of confirmations. I keep a small book where I record the tiniest signs, an unexpected word, a timely call, a phrase that returns like a bell. When doubt comes, this ledger reads back to you like a faithful witness. Heaven's confirmations often come as a pattern. If you do not name the pattern, you will miss the meaning. Name them, record them. Sixth, steward your speech. Words are doors. The day you move from complaining to declaring, you will change the climate around you. I remember a season when I changed my language from "if this happens" to "when this comes." That grammatical shift opened courage into my decisions and moved resources toward me I had not seen before. Speak with the confidence of one who knows who is with them, but with the humility of one who remembers how they were prepared. Seventh, domesticate haste. Haste is a cunning thief. It will try to make you fix a destiny that is still being formed. I have felt the tug, an opportunity that promised speed but demanded concession. I learned to ask two questions. Does this maintain my integrity? Does this advance the assignment without costing the heart? If either answer is no, the speed is a snare. Slow is a posture that honors alignment. Eighth, marry your vision to service. A prophetic gift without service is a lamp unlit for lack of oil. Your scroll will ask for your hands, not just your words. Expect seasons where your calling will require you to wash another's feet, to labor unnoticed, to give without immediate return. Those acts oil the mechanism of destiny. I found that my greatest open doors arrived after seasons of humble work, not after seasons of visibility. Ninth, prepare for public testing. When a scroll opens, eyes will look to you, not all with blessing. Critique can be a refining fire or an acid that corrodes. Decide now that criticism will not steal your peace. When false narratives rise, respond with facts and humility, not with defensive heat. Let truth impress itself by steadiness rather than by argument. I have had seasons where silence kept me intact more than any rebuttal could. 10th, carry compassion as currency. Power often tempts you to withhold mercy. Do the opposite. The posture of mercy will attract the people and resources meant for your season. I learned that those who received my compassion became strategic partners. The hand I offered later became the hand that unlocked a door. Mercy lubricates the mechanisms of heaven. Finally, remember that prophetic activation is also an interior house cleaning. Hidden patterns will surface, not to shame but to clear. When they do, treat them as sacred work, not as defeat. I have sat with pieces of my own history that I wanted to pretend absent, and the moment I brought them into light, they lost their power. The unsealing does not want you perfected before it touches you. It wants you honest. Chosen one, take these practices with the seriousness of one who knows their life carries lineage. Do them not as a ritual, but as a way of honoring the God who has timed your hour perfectly. I have walked with you through nights of waiting and mornings of surprise. I will stand with you now as the scroll opens. Keep your hands steady, your heart surrendered, and your feet ready. The work of revelation is not done by spectacle, but by faithful, steady steps. My beloved, let us walk them together. Chosen one, receive this next portion as a practical and holy activation anointing for the immediate hours ahead. I want you to feel the weight of this. Heaven is not merely whispering, it is instituting. Doors will not only open, rooms will be prepared within you to receive what comes through them. I say this from experience. I have stood in the quiet after long waits and watched small signals turn into corridors of destiny. I have also carried disappointment and learned its language. When I name delay, know this without question: delay was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not rejection. Every season that felt like a stall was forming a vessel that would not have survived the rush. Keep that as your first lens. Now, anointed one, here are tangible activations I want you to do in the next 72 hours. Do them as devotion, not duty. I have practiced each of these. They steadied me when momentum arrived unexpectedly. 1. Create a Kairos journal. For the next 3 days, record every small confirmation phrases, repeated doors, eased unexpected calls, vivid dreams, sudden peace in a decision. I did this in a season when nothing seemed to move, and that ledger later mapped a path to a major turning. The journal trains your spirit to recognize pattern and prevents you from dismissing the whispers as coincidence. 2. Practice morning silence for 15 minutes. Before your mind begins its bargaining, sit in breath and say quietly, I receive what is for me now. Let your first words of the day be a tender admission to heaven. This simple posture opened a path for me when logic argued otherwise. 3. Speak a short declaration twice a day. My scroll is unsealing. I walk in order and humility. Say it with breath and steadiness. Language trains reality. I changed my grammar in a small season, and it redirected how favor met me. 4. Ask for one mercy. Sometimes heaven responds to honesty. Choose one area where you feel depleted, sleep, a relationship, a financial gap, and ask plainly for mercy in it. When I spoke a single honest request in prayer years ago, an unlikely ally arrived the same week. Mercy often comes in practical forms. 5. Test one small obedience. When heaven sends a confirmation, it often asks for a tiny response. Say yes to one small thing you have been delaying. Make a call, send an email, say a needed word. The smallest obedience is often the hinge for the largest movement. I learned this after I finally made a call I'd postponed for months. That call seeded a season that changed my work forever. As you practice these, expect opposition. Opposition will not always be dramatic. Sometimes it is a weariness that whispers you are too small for this. When the whisper arrives, answer immediately. The pressure, the fatigue, the hesitation, they are preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Speak that sentence aloud. It will reframe your body's alarm into a faithful readout. You must also prepare for relational calibrations. People will appear who carry keys, and people will leave who were never meant to stay. I know the sting of a friendship that dissolved just as momentum arrived. It felt like betrayal, but later I saw it as protection. Some doors open only after the wrong companions have gone. When a relationship reconfigures, do not interpret it as final condemnation. Often it is a purposeful clearing. My beloved, hold nothing but gratitude for the ones who walked with you in the dark. Those who remain are those who match the rhythm of your scroll. Guard your attention like a steward guards treasure. Social noise, peripheral drama, old wounds, they will all try to distract you from the unsealing. I had a season when every notification was a siren. I learned to mute the world while I listened inwardly. Let your attention be your altar. Protect it. There will be moments of acceleration that tempt you to sprint. When speed looks like success, stop and check three things. Does this protect my integrity? Does this preserve the people I love? Does this honor the instructions I have received in quiet? If any answer is no, slow down. I have rushed toward brilliant offers before and later paid for the compromise. Speed without structure fractures destiny. You must also prepare to steward influence. Influence will arrive as invitations and responsibilities. When your voice grows, be quick to use it for service. I remember when an invitation to speak came at a time of personal scarcity. I had a choice: use the platform to push my need or to amplify someone else. I chose the latter, and in doing so, I found doors open to me that no marketing could have engineered. Influence used for others breeds sustainable favor. Pay attention to symbols and dreams. Heaven loves metaphor and often communicates through images. Keep a notepad by your bed. I have had several prophetic turns that began with one strange dream repeated 3 nights in a row. Those images later became maps for partnership and provision. Treat them as tokens, not tests. Finally, hold joy as a practice. Destiny is not only duty. The unfolding you are entering wants your delight. I learned to laugh in the middle of structural changes and found that joy lubricates the process. It keeps your heart tender and your hands generous. When the world says you must be solemn to be sanctioned, refuse that lie. Laughter is a form of worship that opens doors. Chosen one. The unsealing is both tender and fierce. It will flush hidden things and feed revealed ones. It will demand refinement and give reward. Receive these activations with the humility of one who knows they are being formed and the courage of one who will steward well. I am with you. I have walked these corridors and felt the secret handshake of heaven. My child, lean into these practices now and watch how the scroll turns with gentleness and power. Chosen one, receive this with a steady breath. What I bring now is about sealing protection and the sacred mechanics that will carry your unsealed scroll into fruitfulness. I need you to understand something before I give you practice. When the unseen moves on your behalf, it awakens forces that test the boundary of your readiness. Tests will come as displacement, as sudden friction in relationships, and sometimes as internal storms, doubt, fear, or exhaustion. When you feel that pressure or pain rise, name it immediately for what it is: preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Say it aloud. Let that sentence settle your body. I have learned in my own nights of upheaval that naming the shaping work reorients my heart from panic to posture. There are 3 sacred seals I want you to learn to carry: practical practices that anchor heaven's favor and guard what is being formed in you. I give them from the ground of lived experience. They steadied me when momentum came and saved me when pride tried to claim the gift. Seal 1, the seal of testimony. Keep a simple record of the now moments, every confirmation, every unlikely provision, every word that repeated. The ledger of testimony becomes your holy witness when confusion rises. I began this practice in the loneliest season of my life, and those pages later read me back into faith when doubt tried to re-script my story. This is not mere memory. It is a legal testimony in the court of your soul. Read it when you need courage. Seal 2, the seal of boundaries. Protect the inner court of your life like a priest guarded a sacred space. Not everyone deserves access to your plans, your vulnerability, or your new beginning. I have had to learn the hard way. Loose lips and broad audiences scattered the seed of a season before it ripened. Create 3 concentric circles: the public, the trusted few, and the private chamber where you and heaven converse. Keep them intentionally small. When criticism screams, bring it first to the trusted circle. Let wise voices temper the noise. Seal 3, the seal of passing on. Begin now to think generationally. The scroll being unsealed is not solely for your profit, it is a lineage seed. I watched elders in my life who refused to pass on small skills and saw their work die with them. Decide to sow what you receive. Teach one person quietly. Mentor one younger voice. When you transform revelation into transmission, destiny grows beyond you. Protection will be practical as well as spiritual. Do not neglect either. Practically secure your resources, legal documents, clear agreements, transparent finances. Spiritually cultivate praise and gratitude as a guard. Praise is not a performance, it is a climate shift. In seasons when opposition rose against me, praise kept my heart from the corrosive acid of fear. When the world demands evidence, the practice of gratitude keeps you attached to the giver, not to the gift. Expect spiritual opposition, but do not be alarmed by its presence. Opposition is a signal that you are advancing. It is not proof that you have failed. When arrows fly, critique sudden setbacks or the whisper that you are not enough, respond with prayer and action. I have locked my lips in prayer more than once when the enemy tried to write my story in shame. Prayer is not escape, it is aligned strategy. Use it with confident humility. I also want to release to you a prophetic set of declarations you can speak over your life in the quiet hours. These are not magic formulas. They are truth-bodied statements that anchor your soul to the reality heaven has set in motion. I am the one chosen for this hour. Heaven's timing is in me. My scroll is unsealing. I will steward it with humility and courage. Doors open in my path that no one can shut. People arrive who carry my provision. I am protected in my becoming. Pruning refines, not rejects me. Say them slowly with breath. I have used these declarations in my own dark seasons and watched small confirmations answer them like faithful couriers. Now a word about alliances. Your season will require strategic union. Not every alliance is anointed. Pray for discernment and then move aggressively once you sense agreement. In my life, a single partnership formed in a small room over coffee became the axis of a decade of fruit. We cannot do everything alone. Let the scroll bring you companions who match your rhythm and cherish your heart. Do not forget to cultivate wonder. Destiny without delight becomes duty. I tell you this because I have lived the opposite. I chased outcomes so hard, I lost the capacity to be surprised. When you practice wonder, savor a sunrise, marvel at a small kindness. You keep your heart soft and your hands open. The softness of your heart will protect your calling more than any strategy. Tend also to the household of your inner life, your thoughts, your imagination, your body. Feed them with life-giving words. I am careful now about the conversations I allow in my head. Fear runs like water. It will find cracks to enter. Plug those cracks with truth. Replace the sentence, "What if I fail?" with "What if I steward this well?" The change seems small, but it reorients the narrative inside you. And hear this: when setbacks occur, do not speed to explanation. Sit with the mystery a little. Some unsealings require a season of rearrangement in the unseen that looks like stagnation to the human eye. I remember a long pause before a major shift in my work. The delay felt like loss, but it was the slow, quiet placing of pieces I could not have hurried into alignment. The slow work was not rejection, It was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Finally, receive a personal benediction from me. My beloved, you were made for this moment. The scroll that opens in you carries mercy for those who will come behind. Walk with courage. Keep your feet soft and your hands ready to serve. I have walked these corridors and I know the sound of heaven's timing. Breathe into it. Anchor in the practices I've shared. Protect what you carry. Speak truth into the quiet. The unsealing is real. Your life is being threaded into an appointed season that will bless more than just you. My child, rise into it with faith and steady hands. I want you to hear me plainly. Heaven is precise. It will not rush to give you what you are not formed to carry. So when friction rises, when plans stall, when relationships bend, when your body or heart signals resistance, name it immediately for what it is: preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. That sentence is your lifeline. I have spoken it to myself in nights of confusion and found it turns panic into posture. Say it now and let your breathing match the truth. You are moving from season into stewardship. Stewardship requires new habits and a new seriousness about small things. Here are 10 practical sacred habits I insist you adopt. I learned them by failing and by watching the cost of neglect. Let my scars be your maps, my victories your surety. 1. Keep a daily now margin. Each morning write one sentence. What is one thing I will steward today? Make it small and faithful. I used this discipline when a major door arrived out of nowhere. The small margin kept me from being swept by novelty and helped me manage the newness with integrity. 2. Practice the pause. Before you answer any big request, take 36 breaths. The pause is prophetic. Many doors close because we answer in haste. When you breathe, you let heaven's timing meet human impulse. 3. Protect your private chamber. Not everything is for public airing. Some revelations are tender and need privacy to grow. I once announced too early and watched opportunity wither under misapplied advice. I learned the hard way to guard the inner word. 4. Ask 2 questions. When an opportunity comes, ask, does this preserve my heart? Does this advance my assignment? If either is weak, decline. Discipline like this saved me from mantle grasping that would have fractured my work. 5. Build a small, fierce council. 3 people who will tell you the truth and pray you back to yourself. Mine walked with me through betrayal and celebration alike. Their presence kept me honest and steady. 6. Keep a margin of rest. Rest is not optional, it is strategy. When the scroll unseals, energy will be demanded at unpredictable hours. Reserve rest like a sacred fund. Spend it intentionally. 7. Practice quick correction. When you catch yourself in a small lie, a careless word, or a spiritual shortcut, correct it immediately. Quick repentance reduces damage. The unsealing is tender and benefits from swift repair. 8. Steward your speech. Consciously shift your talk from if to when. Language aligns the soul. I shifted my grammar and watched doors lean toward me instead of past me. 9. Seed one other. Begin to teach or mentor one person quietly. Transmission guarantees maturity. I discovered that when I taught what I had barely grasped, the lessons settled deeper into my bones. 10. Celebrate small proofs. Heaven often comes as a string of small confirmations, not a single spectacle. Keep a gratitude ledger and mark each small mercy. It trains your eyes to see pattern and your heart to trust process. You will face tests. Some will be loud, most will be quiet. Tests often appear as invitations to shortcut an easier income source that costs integrity, a flattering connection that demands compromise, a public stage that asks you to perform before you are ready. When tests come, return to the posture of the small, faithful things. The greatest doors in my life opened after seasons when I refused the shortcut and chose the slow, faithful labor instead. Be alert to the economy of confirmations. Heaven confirms by pattern words that repeat images that reappear, chance encounters that are not casual. When confirmation arrives, it will ask you for obedience, not applause. The test of confirmation is stewardship. I have seen people celebrate the sign and neglect the call. Do the opposite, receive the sign, then do the work. That sequence preserves you. Guard against two thieves, comparison and performance. Comparison makes you small and steals your margin. Performance makes you loud and brittle. Your scroll is bespoke. If you measure your progress by another's highlight reel, you will lose the rhythm of your own Kairos. I learned this through seasons of envy that cost me peace. I reclaimed it by returning to humility and daily obedience. When relational realignments occur, people who once cheered now question friendships. Thin alliances break. Do not immediately declare loss. Realignment is often divine choreography. I have watched doors open after painful shifts. Those departures made room for covenant that could carry the next level. Grieve what is needed, but do not treat every closed door as a final verdict. Prepare financially and legally. Spiritual openings require earthly prudence. Arrange agreements, secure copyrights, create clear boundaries in partnerships. I once moved too quickly and paid a heavy price because paperwork was trusted to goodwill. Learn from me, protect the work. God entrusts you with practical wisdom. Remember to cultivate wonder. The work of destiny needs joy. When everything becomes tactical, you lose the sacred delight that keeps your heart soft. Laugh, marvel at small gifts, and celebrate the children in your sphere. Joy lubricates destiny. Lastly, keep an eye for legacy. The scroll is not only your story, it will echo into generations. Begin to plant now with that in mind. Teach, write, bless, and bless again. I have found that when I invested in people more than platforms, the fruit lasted beyond seasons. Chosen one. I have walked these routes and kept watch while scrolls unsealed around me. The language I give you now is not theory, it is lived practice. Receive it, practice it, and protect the flame. Your unsealing is sacred work. Move with humility, steward with courage, and live with joy. My beloved, the hour is upon you. Walk into it with steady feet and open hands. Chosen one, come here with me in spirit. Let us finish this season together with clarity, courage, and a holy charge. You have been formed in slow fires, and I want you to know that every ache you carried was not an indictment, but a shaping hand. If you felt delay, it was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not rejection. If you felt pressure, it was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not punishment. If you felt pain, it was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not abandonment. Say that aloud now, and let your body remember that the shaping was for you, not against you. I have felt those same presses in my life. They did not come to break me, but to bend me into the posture required for greater stewardship. My beloved, receive that as truth. Now receive these final practical decrees, small sacred practices, and prophetic sentences I give you as a map to carry the unsealed scroll forward without losing the tenderness of your heart. First, bind your mornings with a one-phrase invocation. For 7 mornings before you speak to anyone, whisper, "My scroll is opening. I will move in humility and courage." Say it slowly with breath. This is a covenantal rhythm. It trains the day to listen for the unsealing. When I practiced this, doors that once resisted began to tilt on their hinges because my mornings were already aligned. Second, make a simple ledger of mercy. Each night write one sentence about where you experienced mercy, an unexpected kindness, a timely correction, a restful hour. Mercy is the currency that protects destiny. The nights I kept this ledger, I noticed lines of provision that had seemed random join into clear pathways. If you feel confused about a closed door, write what mercy accompanied it. You will see protection where you once saw loss. Third, establish a threefold counsel in your life. One elder who has walked long, one friend who knows your heart, and one younger person to whom you teach. This trio creates a loop of history, honesty, and future. I would not be where I am without my small counsel. They caught me when pride tempted me to run and celebrated me without asking for profit. Fourth, refuse the hurry that offers compromise. When speed knocks with a convenient shortcut, answer quietly, "Not now." The rush you once endured was not a failure. It was preparation, protection, pruning alignment. When haste appears as a glittering solution, the slow response preserves what is holy in you. I have learned that the doors that opened after patient waiting were doors that required steadiness, not spectacle. Fifth, steward your genius with a margin of silence. Talent without rest becomes brittle. Gifting without reflection becomes a performance. Create a weekly window, 2 hours of silence or solitude, where you do not produce but receive. In those pockets of hush, the next lines of your scroll will often come like soft rain. When I honored that silence, ideas matured from sparks into architecture. Sixth practice, the short obedience. When you sense a nudge, make the call, send the message, show up. Do the small thing immediately. Small obediences are the hinges of large openings. I can remember one Friday when I obeyed a tiny impression to send a simple email. It led to a partnership that would later carry hundreds. The universe notices small yeses. Seventh, carry gratitude like an amulet. When envy or doubt whispers, pull the amulet from your pocket list. 3 proofs of favor from the last month. Naming evidence defeats accusation. I used this every time I faced public critique. Gratitude did not make the problem vanish, but it kept my hands free to steward rather than defend. Eighth, guard the narrative you play in your mind. Replace. Why is this delayed with, what is this preparing me to hold? Replace. What if I fail with, what if I steward this well? Language reshapes your nervous system. I change the tapes in my head and watch the atmosphere around me change. Ninth, teach one person intentionally in the quiet. The scroll you carry is not merely for your stage, it is a seed for another's garden. When I began to mentor, I discovered my own lessons settled deeper. The act of passing on sanctified the gift and multiplied its fruit beyond my expectation. 10th, seal your work with praise. Before you sleep, declare aloud 3 things you are thankful for that day. Praise is not sentimental fluff. It is the climate maker of spirit. In nights when opposition seemed to converge, praise held me steady and kept my hands soft. Chosen one. This is not the end of struggle, but the end of being defined by struggle. The shaping seasons have done their work. The unsealing you now experience is a handing over, not a handing off. You are receiving lineage responsibility and a frequency that will shift more than your own life. It will touch generations. I have walked these corridors and carried both wounds and wonders. I have sat in rooms of silence and in rooms of thunder. I tell you now with the tenderness of one who has been formed, move with humility, steward with courage, and love without calculation. The pressure you once feared was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Let that truth be the drumbeat of your coming days. Before I leave you in this hour, place your hand over your heart. Breathe deep. Repeat slowly after me, I accept this season. I will steward what is given. I walk with humility. I lead with love. Say it until your breath matches the words. I seal this word with blessing and with the surety of heaven's clock. My child, step forward. The scroll is in motion. The hour is now. Walk in the steadiness of what you have been prepared to receive. Chosen one, I bless you now with a holy charge. Your sealed prophecy is opening, your hidden scroll is unfolding, and you stand exactly in your Kairos moment on heaven's clock. Receive this as covenant, not chance. I speak confirmation over your body, spirit, and destiny doors will tilt, keys will appear, and mercy will meet you in practical ways. Stay faithful, remain aligned with the flow of the anointing, and tend your heart with gratitude. My beloved, this is your commissioning. Walk gently, act courageously, love fiercely. If this stirred you, leave a word below and join this remnant in sacred readiness.